Poor food's demons. Uses to control your life. Stop eating them. There are, if we are honest, certain things in life that seem to hold a peculiar power over us. These are not things we would willingly surrender to, yet we find ourselves drawn to them as if by some unseen force. They are the small, seemingly harmless indulgences, the things we tell ourselves we deserve after a long day. But in truth, these very things are the instruments of our quiet subjugation. Consider, if you will, the first of these tools, sugar. It is sweet, it is comforting, and it whispers to us in soft tones of reward. Just a little more, it says. You've had a hard day, you've earned it. And so we indulge. But do we truly find peace in the sugary embrace? No, in truth, we only find hunger. The hunger remains, and with it, a subtle but persistent grip upon our will. We begin to crave it more and more, until it is no longer a treat, but a necessity. A force that governs our mood, our energy, and even our thoughts. This is no mere coincidence. It is the first step in a quiet but insidious control, one that leaves us restless, unfulfilled, and forever chasing a fleeting sweetness that was never meant to satisfy. Next, consider the bread. In itself, it is not inherently evil. Bread is the staple of many a meal, the very staff of life, so to speak. Yet in its most refined form, it transforms into something much more dangerous than a mere sustenance. It is a vessel for our discontent, a substance that calms for but a moment and then leaves us in an endless cycle of longing. The more we eat, the more we feel the need to eat. The quiet hand of control tightens. We become obsessed with the comfort it brings, and before long, we cannot recall a time when we felt truly nourished without it. Then there is the matter of meat. Now, I do not mean to disparage meat in itself. There is a nobility in the way some of us are drawn to it. But meat, when consumed in excess, can quickly become a tyrant of its own. It is rich, heavy, and indulgent, qualities that, in moderation, may have their place, but in excess, it becomes a weight upon the body and upon the spirit. It provides us with a sense of power, a sense of mastery over nature, and yet we find ourselves subject to it. The more we partake, the more we crave, and before long we have come to believe that this is our right, our need, a feeling of security and strength. But in truth, this false sense of control only creates a bond, one that chains us to our own desires and further distances us from what truly nourishes us. Lastly, let us speak of alcohol. A drink here, a drink there, is a simple thing, is it not? We justify it. We call it relaxation. We say it brings joy. But alcohol, like the others, is not content to remain a mere companion. It seeks dominion. It beckons to us in moments of stress, in moments of joy, and sometimes when we think we need nothing at all. At first, it promises to liberate, to free us from our burdens, but with each sip, we become less free. It clouds our judgment, dulls our senses, and lulls us into a false sense of peace. But the peace is fleeting, and the mind becomes more enslaved with every indulgence. It is not freedom we find, but chains, unseen but no less real. In all these things there is a common thread. They offer comfort, yes, but in offering comfort they take something vital from us, our ability to truly choose. We are not masters of our desires, we are their subjects. Each of these foods, in its own way, seeks to enslave us, to take control of our wills, and to reduce us to mere creatures of habit. They are not merely food. They are tools of control, wielded by forces we cannot always see, but can feel. And yet, as we speak of breaking free, we must remember something crucial. These foods, these vices, do not relinquish their hold easily. You see, they are not merely sustenance, they are sentinels, guardians of the darkness, designed to keep us bound, to keep us from seeing the truth. The more we attempt to escape, the tighter the grip becomes, pulling us deeper into the shadows. It is not by chance that we find ourselves reaching for them again and again. Each time we give in, the bond strengthens, the chains become less visible, until we cannot remember life without them. But now we must face another truth. They are not alone. The darkness that has taken hold of us does not reside within the food itself. No, it resides in the power we give to it. It feeds not on sugar or meat or drink, but on something far more precious, our will. With each bite, each swallow, we surrender a piece of ourselves, and with that surrender comes a chilling transformation. We begin to change, subtly at first, and then with frightening clarity. What was once a choice becomes a compulsion. What was once a moment of indulgence becomes a prison. Take the sugar once more. At first it feels harmless, even comforting, like a sweet lullaby sung to the tired soul. But the more we give into it, the more insatiable it becomes. We no longer crave sweetness. No, we crave more. The sugar becomes a cold, unyielding master. It knows no mercy. It burrows deep within us, turning our body into its temple, its place of worship. We are no longer satisfied by a simple treat. We are addicted to the feeling it gives us, the fleeting release from our inner turmoil. And like a demon whispering in our ear, it tells us that we will never be enough without it. The more we consume, the more it takes, until we are little more than hollow vessels, filled with an emptiness that can never be filled. The bread too reveals its true nature when we look closer. The more we consume, the more it promises us security. It offers us the illusion of fullness, of comfort, of satisfaction. But what it gives, it takes back tenfold. The weight of it presses down upon us, not just physically, but spiritually. The hunger it creates is never truly satisfied. Instead, we become obsessed with the feeling of fullness, the need for more, the gnawing sense that we are always lacking something. And in that obsession, we are not free, we are possessed. Each loaf consumed pulls us deeper into the labyrinth, until we cannot remember what it is to feel light, to feel unburdened. We do not eat to live, we live to eat. And in this twisted cycle, we become like the very bread we devour, stale, heavy, and irredeemable. The meat, too, is a powerful ally of the dark forces. We think it gives us strength, power, vitality, but the truth is far more sinister. The more we feast upon it, the more we feed the beast within, and that beast, like all creatures of the darkness, grows stronger with every offering. Each bite is not just nourishment. It is a pact, a promise that we will surrender more of ourselves to the ravenous hunger within us. We are no longer the master of our appetite. It is our appetite that rules us. And with every indulgence, we feel our will slipping further away, replaced by the insatiable desire for more. We are no longer humans at the table. We are creatures of the flesh, mindlessly driven by the animal within. And then there is the drink. Oh, the drink. At first it promises only warmth, a simple pleasure, a fleeting moment of release. But it does not stop there. With each glass, each bottle, it works its quiet magic, bending the mind, clouding the judgment, dulling the senses. What begins as a way to forget, to relax, becomes something darker. It is not simply a drink we consume. It is a spell cast upon us by forces beyond our understanding. And each time we take a sip, we invite the demon in, allowing it to whisper in our ear that we cannot live without it. It promises us freedom, but it chains us in a way far more terrifying than any visible prison. But here, in the darkest part of the night, when the chains feel tightest, when the hunger feels most unbearable, there is a way out. Yes, there is, but it will not come easily. It is not a path of comfort, nor one of quick fixes. No, the road to freedom is one of pain, of struggle, of sacrifice. We must not merely give up these foods, but take back control of ourselves. We must reclaim our will from the very hands that have stolen it. The first step is the hardest, perhaps the hardest of all. We must admit that we have been enslaved. Only then can we break free. But beware, the forces we battle are not easily defeated. They will tempt us again, whispering the same lies, offering the same false promises. They will seek to pull us back into the darkness, to twist our minds and bind our hearts once more. But if we stand firm, if we hold fast to our strength, then we will know the true meaning of freedom. We will rise above these chains, these temptations, these demons. And once we are free, we will look back and see them for what they truly are. Not mere foods, but tools of control, wielded by forces whose only desire is to keep us trapped in a never-ending cycle of hunger and despair. But remember, we are not powerless, we are not slaves, we are human, and that in the end is what gives us the strength to resist. At first glance, the foods we indulge in, sugar, bread, meat, and alcohol, appear harmless enough, if not entirely comforting. They offer us an escape from the mundane struggles of life, a fleeting moment of peace or satisfaction. Sugar gives us a quick burst of sweetness. Bread offers warmth and substance. Meat promises richness and power. And alcohol lures us with its promise of relaxation and release. For many, these foods are not just sustenance. They are rewards, small pleasures that make life bearable. Yet, this comfort is deceptive, hiding a much darker truth. The very things that seem to offer us solace are, in fact, the tools of a much deeper and sinister control. These substances do not simply nourish us or satisfy our cravings. They prey on our weaknesses, using our desires against us. In the moment of indulgence, they promise relief from stress, boredom, or anxiety. A piece of cake, a glass of wine, a hearty meal, or a loaf of warm bread, all serve as temporary solutions to our inner turmoil. They calm us, quiet our minds, and, for a brief time, take away our discomfort. But these comforts are like a siren song, luring us into a false sense of security. We believe that we are choosing them, that we are in control, but in reality, they are the ones controlling us. The more we indulge, the tighter their grip becomes. Sugar, for instance, is one of the most cunning temptations. It enters our body like a sweet kiss, sparking a burst of energy and euphoria. But that high is fleeting, quickly replaced by a sharp dip in energy, leaving us craving more to restore the balance. Each time we give in to that craving, we reinforce the cycle. Sugar becomes not just a treat, but a necessity, and the more we consume, the more we feel its hold tightening around our will. It is no longer a choice, it is a compulsion, a hunger that never fully subsides. Similarly, bread, in its simplest form, feels like a return to comfort and stability. The act of breaking bread, the warmth of it in our hands, the hearty satisfaction of a meal, all of these feel like small, personal victories against the coldness of the world. Yet, bread, like sugar, has a darker side. Refined carbohydrates flood our systems with sugar, setting off the same cycle of craving and consumption. The more we eat, the more we need, and before long, what once felt like a treat has become a dependency, an anchor that holds us fast in a sea of unrelenting hunger. Meat, often considered the epitome of strength and nourishment, offers the illusion of power and vitality. We are taught that consuming meat is essential for health, a cornerstone of human strength and endurance. But the truth is more insidious. The more we indulge in heavy, rich foods, the more we feed an insatiable appetite, not just for sustenance, but for control. Each bite is a reinforcement of the idea that we must consume more to feel strong, more to feel secure. It becomes a cycle. And like all cycles, it becomes harder to break free from. Alcohol, too, offers an illusion of comfort, a way to escape the pressures and pains of the day. It promises relaxation, ease, and even joy. We tell ourselves that one drink will help us unwind, but what begins as a temporary relief slowly begins to pull us into its grasp. It creates a false sense of freedom, making us feel lighter, freer, while at the same time dulling our senses, eroding our ability to think clearly. Like the others, alcohol lures us back, promising freedom, but delivering only chains. Each of these foods has its own distinct allure, but together they form a complex web of temptation. The more we give in, the more we feed the hunger, the more we are enslaved by it. What once seemed like a harmless indulgence now becomes a tool of control, pulling us further away from true comfort and satisfaction, trapping us in a cycle of craving, indulgence, and guilt. And with each cycle, we lose more of ourselves, more of our willpower, until we are left wondering, who is really in control here? At first, it seems innocent enough, just a small indulgence here and there, a sugary treat after a long day, a slice of warm bread to comfort us, a piece of meat to fill the void, or a drink to unwind. We tell ourselves that it's harmless, a simple pleasure, nothing more. But as time goes on, we begin to notice something subtle but alarming. These moments of indulgence are no longer just occasional comforts. They've started to demand more of us. What was once a choice has slowly become a necessity, and in the quietest corners of our hearts, we feel the change. We are no longer in control. The very things we once chose freely have started to choose us. It begins innocently, almost imperceptibly. The first time you reach for that sugary snack, it's a reward, a treat for a job well done, or simply a moment to soothe the weariness of life. But then something happens. The pleasure it gives is fleeting. The sweetness doesn't last long enough, and the hunger that follows is sharper, more urgent. The next time, you reach for a little more, telling yourself it's okay. This time it's just a little extra. But now the craving is stronger. It whispers to you when you're tired, when you're bored, when you're stressed. Just a little more, it says. And so you give in. But with each bite, each sip, you are surrendering a piece of your will. The line between indulgence and compulsion begins to blur. What was once a simple indulgence, a momentary escape, starts to feel like a demand. You begin to crave it, not just because you are hungry, but because you've been conditioned to want it, to need it. The sweetness no longer satisfies in the same way. You need more to feel the same release, the same sense of pleasure. It's like a chain being quietly wrapped around your mind. At first you don't notice it. The chains are thin, almost invisible, but with each indulgence, they grow thicker, stronger, until one day you realize you are no longer the master of your desires. The cravings have become a master, and you are its servant. The same can be said of bread. Initially, it's just part of a comforting meal, an accompaniment to soup, a base for a sandwich, but soon, you begin to notice the feeling it gives you when you eat it. It fills you up in a way that feels satisfying, like you found a small island of peace in a sea of chaos. But, as with the sugar, the satisfaction is temporary, and soon after, you feel the hunger again, and so you reach for more. Just one more slice, and then another. The bread becomes more than just food. It becomes a symbol of comfort, of security, of something you need to feel whole. What once was a casual inclusion in your meal now becomes the very cornerstone of your eating habits. You find yourself craving it, thinking about it, seeking it out when you're stressed or tired. You may tell yourself it's just a habit, a harmless craving, but the truth is, you are no longer free. The bread has taken root inside you, and like the sugar, it has turned from a simple indulgence to an obsession. Meat, too, is a perfect example of this subtle transformation. What begins as a satisfying meal, a piece of steak or chicken enjoyed with family or friends, slowly begins to feel like something you must have. At first, it's just a satisfying treat, a hearty meal that fills you up and satisfies your body's need for sustenance. But over time, the craving for meat becomes stronger. The desire to feel full, to feel powerful, grows. The very thing that should nourish your body now rules it. And each time you indulge, the hunger becomes more insistent, more demanding. What was once a source of strength is now a source of control, and you are no longer in command of your choices. And then there's alcohol. Initially, a glass of wine might seem like a pleasant way to unwind, a toast to the end of a long day, but before long the wine becomes a ritual, something you feel you need in order to relax, to feel at ease. The alcohol transforms from a mere indulgence into a necessity. Soon, it's no longer just about enjoying the flavor or the sensation. It's about feeling the effect, about escaping the tension or unease that lives within you. You tell yourself that it's only a drink, only a way to unwind. But with every sip, the craving grows stronger, and you find yourself reaching for it more often. It no longer just soothes, it enslaves. The release it offers is temporary, but the chains it places upon your will are permanent. With each of these indulgences, the subtle transformation happens gradually. It doesn't hit us all at once with the sudden force of a storm. No, it creeps in, a silent thief in the night, stealing our control piece by piece, bite by bite, sip by sip. We surrender more and more of ourselves, unaware of the quiet power we're giving away. What started as a simple, innocent pleasure becomes a force that dictates our actions, shapes our thoughts, and ultimately controls our lives. We are no longer free. We are enslaved to our cravings. And worse, we don't even realize it until it's too late. The choice is no longer ours to make. The desire has taken over, and in the end, we are left with nothing but the hunger that we can never fully satisfy. In the quiet moments of our lives, when hunger strikes or we seek comfort, we face a silent battle, a battle that most of us don't even realize is happening. The foods we reach for in these moments, whether it's sugar, bread, meat, or alcohol, are not simply fulfilling a physical need. They are feeding on something far deeper, something far more precious than we can fully comprehend. These indulgences do not just satisfy our hunger or thirst. They are predators, feeding on our willpower, weakening us with every bite, every sip, every indulgence. At first it feels harmless. After all, we are simply responding to a natural need, aren't we? We tell ourselves that food is just nourishment, that drink is simply a way to unwind, and that our cravings are a natural part of life. But here lies the dark truth. With every choice to indulge in these foods, we offer a small piece of ourselves. Every time we give in to these cravings, we surrender a bit of our strength, our ability to make conscious. What we fail to notice is that the more we give in, the more these substances begin to control us, rather than the other way around. These foods, so often presented as innocent or even beneficial, don't simply nourish the body. They prey on our most fundamental power, our ability to choose. They feed on our willpower, quietly eroding our self-control with each indulgence. At first, it's a choice. Perhaps we are stressed, tired, or bored, and we reach for something that promises comfort. We convince ourselves that we can stop at just one bite, one piece, one drink. But as time goes on, the craving grows. We tell ourselves we will only have a little more, but that little more becomes a necessity. What was once an occasional indulgence becomes a repetitive action, a routine we can't break. And with every repeated act of indulgence, we allow the craving to take deeper root inside us. This battle isn't just about satisfying our immediate desires. It's a struggle for something far more significant, the control of our actions, our thoughts, and our very will. Each time we give in, we make a small, seemingly insignificant choice. But over time, those small choices add up until we are no longer choosing freely. Our desires begin to dictate our behavior. We no longer crave these foods because they provide true nourishment or pleasure. We crave them because they have become the very lens through which we view the world. Our desires, once simple and manageable, become insatiable, demanding more of us than we are willing to give. As this pattern of indulgence continues, our ability to make conscious, free choices diminishes. We start to make decisions not out of reason or intentionality, but out of compulsion. The craving for that piece of cake, that extra drink, that second serving of meat becomes more powerful than our rational mind. We feel its pull, urging us to satisfy the hunger, to ease the unease. But in doing so, we lose a piece of ourselves. We begin to operate on autopilot, ruled by the very cravings that once seemed so harmless. We lose the ability to choose freely, for we are no longer masters of our desires. Our desires have become our masters. This is where the true cost of indulgence becomes apparent. It is not just a matter of consuming a particular food or drink. It is a matter of allowing our will to be consumed. When we no longer possess the strength to resist, when our desires overpower our better judgment, we are no longer free. We are slaves to our appetites, constantly chasing the next satisfaction, the next moment of comfort, the next quick fix. In the process, we become less and less aware of the true nature of our bondage. We think we are acting freely, but we are merely responding to the invisible strings that these foods have attached to our hearts and minds. It's easy to underestimate the power of something as simple as food. We think that food is just sustenance, a necessary part of life. But food has a far darker influence when we allow it to dictate our choices. What starts as a momentary indulgence becomes an endless cycle, a trap that grows more difficult to escape with each passing day. It is a slow, subtle takeover of our will, and it happens one bite at a time. We must ask ourselves, do we still control our choices, or have we allowed these desires to control us? The more we feed them, the stronger they become, and the more they dictate our every move. But there is hope. There is a way to regain control. It begins with recognizing the power these cravings have over us, and then taking back what has been taken. Our ability to choose, to think, to act freely. But it is a battle, one that requires strength, awareness, and a willingness to fight against the pull of our desires. The question is, do we have the courage to fight back, or will we allow our desires to become our masters forever? We often think of addiction as a physical trap, a compulsion that manifests in our bodies. It's easy to see how the body becomes a prisoner of desire. The repeated cravings, the rush of energy, the way we continue to reach for the same foods time and time again, as if we're chasing something elusive. But what if the trap is more than physical? What if every indulgence, every bite or sip of sugar, bread, meat, or alcohol is not just a transaction of the body, but of the spirit itself? What if, each time we give in to our cravings, we are not only feeding our physical hunger, but also tethering ourselves more tightly to a spiritual darkness? One that leaves us feeling increasingly hollow, restless, and unsatisfied? These foods, at their core, are not just substances we consume. They are powerful agents of a deeper kind of bondage. At first, it feels like they are merely satisfying our needs, nourishing us, giving us energy, helping us relax. But each indulgence slowly tightens the chains that bind us. These foods may temporarily soothe the restlessness within us, but they do not heal the underlying emptiness. They feed the body, yes, but they starve the soul. Every time we choose them, we are indulging in a cycle of temporary relief that only amplifies the deeper longing within us. In the moment, we may feel full, content, and at peace, but as the effect wears off, we find ourselves craving more. The satisfaction slips through our fingers, leaving us feeling more empty than we were before. We are left with the gnawing sense that we are not whole, not fulfilled, and yet we continue to seek out the same fleeting pleasure that never lasts. We chase the fleeting sense of satisfaction, not realizing that we are feeding not just our body, but a spiritual hunger, a hunger that cannot be filled by food alone. The more we indulge in these cravings, the more disconnected we become from what truly nourishes us. At first, we may not notice the gradual shift. We think of food simply as fuel, as comfort, as a way to cope with the stresses and pains of life. But with every bite, we trade the true nourishment we need, meaning, purpose, fulfillment, connection, for something that is temporary and shallow. The addiction to these substances dulls our senses and clouds our judgment, keeping us from recognizing that the satisfaction we seek does not lie in food or drink, but in something far deeper. This process, subtle and insidious, takes root within us over time. What once felt like an occasional indulgence becomes an obsession, a compulsion, and with each indulgence, we become less and less attuned to our true needs. We start to rely on these foods for comfort, for relief, and for escape, unaware that in doing so, we are furthering our separation from what really nourishes the soul. We are so consumed by the fleeting pleasures of the flesh that we lose sight of the deeper, lasting joy that comes from spiritual and emotional fulfillment. Physically, we may feel the effects of our indulgence: weight gain, fatigue, sluggishness, or even illness. These are the warning signs, the body's cries for help. But it's not just the body that suffers. Our spirit is weighed down as well. We begin to feel the effects of spiritual starvation, anxiety, dissatisfaction, a sense of disconnection from ourselves and from others. We search for meaning in food and drink, but no matter how much we consume, the emptiness persists. We are left with a profound sense of restlessness, a hunger that no substance can fill. The more we give in to the cravings, the more we lose touch with the things that truly nourish us: love, purpose, connection, and spiritual peace. Our connection to what truly satisfies the soul weakens, and we become consumed by the temporary comforts that only serve to bind us further. It is as though we are trapped in a cycle that we can't escape, one that only grows tighter with each indulgence. It is easy to dismiss this as mere indulgence or self-indulgence, but the reality is that the addiction to these foods is not just about pleasure, it's about control. These substances are controlling us, holding us in a kind of spiritual bondage that keeps us from experiencing the fullness of life. It's not just that we lose our connection to our body's true needs, but we lose connection with our own sense of purpose, our deeper sense of self. To break free, we must acknowledge the spiritual nature of this bondage. It is not enough to simply remove the foods from our lives, though that is a necessary first step. We must also turn our attention inward, seeking what truly nourishes the soul. True satisfaction does not come from what we consume, but from what we give: love, compassion, peace, and purpose. It is only by reconnecting with these deeper aspects of ourselves that we can begin to break the chains of addiction and reclaim the fullness of life. We must seek out what truly fills the emptiness within us, not with food, but with meaning. Only then can we escape this spiritual and physical bondage. Only then can we be free. Breaking free from the grip of these foods is not an easy task. It is not simply a matter of putting down the fork or refusing that glass of wine. It is a battle, a deep struggle within our very souls. For these foods are not just substances, they are chains that bind us, both physically and spiritually. They hold us captive, feeding off our weaknesses, our desires, our compulsions, and escaping this prison requires something more than mere willpower. It requires strength, sacrifice, and, above all, a profound recognition of the truth. We have been enslaved. The first step on this difficult path to freedom is acknowledging the truth, however uncomfortable it may be. We must admit to ourselves that we are not in control, that these cravings, these desires, have begun to dictate our lives. It is a humbling realization, one that many of us avoid because it forces us to confront our own weakness. We may convince ourselves that we are simply indulging in life's pleasures, that food and drink are harmless, just a part of living, but deep down, we know the truth. We know that what began as innocent pleasure has evolved into something far more dangerous. We have surrendered our will, piece by piece, to these foods, and in doing so, we have allowed ourselves to become slaves to them. This first step, acknowledging our enslavement, is crucial. It is not enough to simply wish we were free. We must see the chains for what they truly are. We must understand that these foods are not just indulgences, they are tools, carefully designed to ensnare us. They are used by forces that operate in the shadows, forces that seek to keep us trapped in a cycle of endless craving and despair. These cravings are not random, they are intentional. They are designed to keep us seeking, never fully satisfied, always yearning for more, and as we feed into them, they tighten their grip on us. Once we admit that we are trapped, the next step is to reclaim our will. This requires strength, not just the physical strength to say no to the chocolate cake or the wine, but the inner strength to resist the powerful pull of addiction, of compulsion. It requires us to recognize that we are more than our cravings, that our desires do not define us. We must remember that we are capable of making conscious, deliberate choices, even in the face of overwhelming temptation. It is not easy, and there will be moments of weakness, moments where the desire to give in feels overwhelming, but we must fight. With each small victory over temptation, we begin to regain our power. The more we resist, the stronger we become, and the more we begin to see these foods for what they truly are, tools used to control and enslave us. Resisting temptation is not a one-time act. It is a continuous process, a journey of self-discovery and transformation. It is about retraining our minds and bodies to seek what truly nourishes us, not just what satisfies our immediate cravings. We must learn to listen to our true needs, the needs of our body, yes, but also the deeper needs of our spirit. What we truly hunger for cannot be found in sugar, bread, meat, or alcohol. What we hunger for is peace, purpose, and connection. We hunger for meaning, for love, for fulfillment that comes from something far deeper than physical sustenance. This is the essence of freedom, the ability to break free from the cycle of craving and consumption, to stop being ruled by our desires and start being the masters of our own lives. But this path is not without sacrifice. We must be willing to let go of what has held us captive. We must face the discomfort of withdrawal, the restlessness that comes with resisting our cravings. We must endure the pain of breaking old habits, of changing our routines, and of saying no to the things that once offered us temporary comfort. The road to freedom is not smooth or easy. It is filled with temptation, with moments of doubt, with the fear that we cannot truly escape. But the deeper we walk into this journey, the more we realize that freedom lies not in the foods we consume, but in the power we reclaim over our own desires. It lies in the strength to make choices that nourish not just our bodies, but our spirits as well. Once we break free, Once we see these foods for what they truly are, empty, hollow things that can never satisfy us, we can begin to rebuild. We can rebuild a life that is not defined by craving, but by choice. We can rebuild a life where our desires are no longer masters, but servants to our will. And in this new life, we will find true peace. We will find true nourishment, not in the fleeting pleasures of the body, but in the enduring fulfillment of the soul. The path to freedom may be long and difficult, but it is a journey worth taking, because on the other side, we will find ourselves once again whole, strong, and truly free.